G'day everyone, Simon Foster here from the Sydney Science Fiction Film Festival. We kick off our festival October 3 to 5 here in the beautiful Harbour City. And then a few days after that, this gentleman who I'll introduce as Bryn TILLY has the Dark Nights Festival. Hello mate, tell us when your dates are.
Straight after yours, mate. Thursday the 9th to Sunday the 12th of October.
So we've known each other an awful long time, haven't we? When we first met, I had hair and you were thin. It's been a long time.
Touche.
I know.
Speak for yourself.
Shots fired. Shots fired at the start of the podcast.
Yes, you certainly didn't have quite as much salt.
That's true.
In your beard.
That's film festival directing for you. That's just that's what comes of it. So yes, we've known each other an awful long time, and over that time we've been involved with various festivals along the way, both of which have fallen by the wayside here in Sydney, and I think we've come along and filled a necessary void. Certainly we have a very strong fan base between our two festivals, and many shared patrons and followers across our two festivals, being
crossover,
being sci-fi and horror respectively. Tell us how the year's been for you in terms of bringing this little endeavor you call the Dark Nights Film Fest together.
Yeah, well, look, I think we probably open our call for entries around the same time, late the year before. So for us both, late last year. And we're obviously open to features and shorts from Australia and around the world. And then, of course, we keep our eyes on other sort of genre film fests that are screening throughout the year in case there's any sort of interesting titles that are causing a buzz, or that we feel that we might be able to reach out to see if they're also suitable for what our own festivals are about.
And how'd that work out for you this year? Because we should point out to listeners, and many of our followers will know, I'm in my 6th year, so I've got a bit of a head of steam up. You're still a young buck. You're in your 2nd year, and have had, I think we've both had pretty good responses from both the filmmakers and the patrons to our festival. So we've established ourselves, and you've done it marvelously quickly with yours, straight away getting who gave you the nod as one of the 50 best genre fests in the world?
Dread Central. Yeah,
Dread Central. So that's a huge, and I've had amazing feedback. A whole lot of, I'm up to about 52 5-star reviews on my Film Freeway page. So what we're doing is we're doing right. And it's in the climate we're working in now, pulling these film festivals off. Our network of filmmakers and our network around the world is strong. I think we both brought that to this game when we launched these festivals. But it's an ongoing thing to continue to build that momentum.
Yeah, it is, especially as, we're seeing, look, there's no two buts about it. We're seeing the festival landscape and also the whole cinema going landscape changing so rapidly in a kind of volatile way with let's face it, uncertainty to a degree. It's never been harder to get people into the cinema off their couch watching streaming. Yep. And it's never been harder in some ways, I feel, to appeal to emerging filmmakers, especially those that are making features, to get them on board smaller niche film festivals. We're finding a lot of these streaming platforms are, they're making deals with filmmakers, and filmmakers' features are not on the festival circuit for anywhere near the same length of time that they used to be a few years back, and that makes it quite unpredictable for us, and certainly adds a stress level to us, because we don't know whether, we need to reach out to a film outside of any cold submissions early to try and secure it if we can or not, and at the same time, the films that we do have, once we've got a program together, is, trying to get the people to come and see films that they don't know anything about.
Yep.
And spend their precious dollars,
A story that I think I've related to you before, and I may have even said on one of our podcast chats before, was that I spoke to it's been a couple of years now, I spoke to a major distributor executive who, and I was complaining, not complaining, but relating along exactly those lines that, we're programming. I mean, in my festival this year, I've got a Macedonian animated feature, and I've got a Kazakhstan alien drama. And I say to him, getting people to come along for one-off sessions of those in the middle of the city at 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, it's a nigh impossible task to do that. And he said to me, mate, I spent $1 million to get people to come along to the latest Idris Elba film, and nobody came along to it. So it's a really hard thing to find your niche audience, impress upon them that what you're doing is an important part of film culture, and the films you're screening are one-off screenings of an important international landscape, and then getting them off their chairs. Sydney's a bit of a beast unto itself in that it's such a vast, suburban sprawl, that trying to get information about our festivals, yours in Randwick at the Ritz and me in the city at Event George Street, to get people in Liverpool or Gosford or wherever to come along to these sort of things is a challenge. But it's just one of the many challenges we're facing.
Well, this is true. And another thing I think that's also shifted, and I think this is possibly also quite prevalent with the younger demographic, is the desire to not to commit early. I think, you and I come from a generation of being used to committing early, booking in advance. And I think a lot of cinema goers now and look, it's not just the younger demographic. It's also to do with, parting ways with money, I suppose, in advance, and thinking, well, hang on a second, what if something else comes up? And so people are making last minute decisions, and there's no denying that causes us as festival directors a fair amount of anxiety leading up, because we're trying to check sales, and people are making decisions literally sometimes on the day about whether they're going to come and see a film, or just a couple of days before.
It's exactly right. It's a really valid point you make. We've had, as our festivals sort of come together in this way, we've had a bit of a logjam of festivals in this over the last month. We've had Sydney Underground just finish up as we record this last weekend. Then there's me. Then there's you. Then there's South by Southwest, and then there's the other Horror Fest, which I won't mention, heading into the end of the month. So this is a logjam of titles, and from my perspective, I really held back on doing any kind of promotion until until the Underground Film Festival was over, because we'd be fighting for a similar sort of eyeballs. They have a very strong marketing influence. Kath does amazing work, and Stefan has always done amazing work in getting the word out to the followers. So I just decided to sit back, and based on what exactly you were saying, that people really make the decision of what they're doing in a night, you've really got to impact them from sort of 3 p.m. onwards on the afternoon of your screening, to get them to go, oh yeah, that was on tonight, I might go and see that. So
this is true. I mean, it feels like maybe you and I need to go out with sandwich boards on the day.
Yeah. It's not far off that, I gotta tell you. How's I want to ask you, how's everything work? Because, and I know I've spoken about this before, but not here. My venue partner is a big corporate movie exhibition chain, the oldest one in Australia, Event Cinemas, who were Greater Union Cinemas, and they sort of dominate certainly the New South Wales landscape. I just slot into their timings. I'm very happy for their technology and their staff and all the things that they bring to the party, but they don't market my festivals. They certainly don't market my movie, and nor should they. They don't know how to do that, and they're open about that. They market Event Cinemas, and it's up to me to sell the movies. You, on the other hand, are with Randwick Ritz, who are a very specialised cinema, who have great knowledge in and an audience who are expecting new and exciting and different things. They know to look to that venue for, they've got an Altman thing on at the moment, or they've got whatever. So how are you finding your relationship with those guys?
Look, it's good so far. It's young, obviously. I'm only in the second year. There was certainly a point of departure that I needed to take from running a night of horror, at the Dendy. And so I was looking to to start with a clean slate, and very much so. I feel Ritz certainly in recent years have really garnered a much younger demographic, as you know, and their programming over recent years has certainly been much broader in terms of, like you say, art house sort of stuff, niche cinema, genre cinema, and they do some terrific programming. They also have their own in-house genre film festival, Fantastic Film Festival Australia, which screens earlier in the year, and a bunch of other retrospectives that happen throughout the year. You know, that the staff are great. I love the cinema. I love the fact that they've got these little smaller cinemas in there now as well, which really suit my festival at the moment anyway.
Yep.
I love the fact that it's close to home. And despite the fact that to some people, yes, it might feel like Randwick Ritz is, or Randwick as a suburb is sort of like, oh, where's that? How do I get there? Oh, it's too far away. The reality is now with the light rail, it's not that far away.
Not at all,
you know,
no.
you can get a, if you're coming from out west, you can get a train to Central, jump on the light rail straight out, and that takes you to basically the end of the line, and it's a 7-minute walk. You know, so it's really not outside of the scope of anyone getting there easily.
Okay.
You know? But look, just coming back to the other festivals and this sort of cluster that we're finding.
Yes.
I won't use that other word, but
oh, I don't know where you're going to go with that. Yep.
South by Southwest Sydney, you know, I have a bone to pick with them, and I'm not going to go into it now really in depth in that, but I'm wondering
if you want to.
Well, you know, the long and short of it is that, you know, they've suddenly sort of come in and they're this prestige festival, obviously, and they've got oodles of money to spend. And they're hoovering up everything, you know. So I'm finding it to be a real thorn on my side, much so more so this year than even last year.
Yeah, you had a tough time. I know we had some calls along the way that you were really stressing out.
Yeah. Look, the long and short of it is, you know, all my kind of local feature options were snatched away from me. And you know, it's hard, and it's sort of something that I've got to kind of to think about after this festival in terms of how we move forward.
You made a very valid point in one of our discussions, in that the filmmakers are torn, and I can understand both sides of this debate. If I was a filmmaker and I wanted some laurels to help me travel around the world, South by Southwest will probably open more doors than Dark Nights. But if I want a receptive audience that knows that they're going to get the very best in local horror, fearlessly programmed, then, and based on the kind of reputation you've established in your short 2 years, then coming to you would be the best option. So it is frustrating for you.
I know. I mean, I had a feature filmmaker tell me that he, you know, wanted to screen at Dark Nights because he felt his audience would be there. But at the same time, he had a marketing team on board and a producer, and they'd submitted also to South by Southwest Sydney, and, you know, they needed to make a decision, and they went with, I guess, you know, you could say a business decision as opposed to a ultimately an audience decision.
I was very lucky this year. I fell in between the gaps. A lot of my, I think I mentioned to you, a lot of my features were locked pretty early on. I also have a relationship this year, and an adjacent partner relationship with the IAC, the International Astronautical Congress, which is coming to Sydney in the week before my festival. Starts on the 29th of September. So I actually programmed 3 documentaries this year, which look at space travel and great, you know, thinkers to do with space and the cosmos, and also a fan documentary about Space 1999. So I lent into that knowing that I'd have a receptive audience through the IAC arrangement, and I was able to sort of secure. And that it was interesting. That kind of gave me a freedom to then book films like Sasik, which is the little Kazakhstan alien film I got, and the John Vada versus the Galaxy, which is the first Macedonian animated feature. I knew that with the cushion of having those three documentaries getting support from, hopefully, fingers crossed, getting support from the IAC followers and the IAC patrons, then I can book these other ones that really speak to what my festival does. Which was good, and I didn't lose up. I lost a short film to SUF that I had to pull out because they got it first. But yeah, I didn't. I was very lucky. I didn't lose any features at all this year.
No, you're lucky there. It's look, it's a work in progress, shall we say? And you know, we'll figure something out.
We're not clashing date wise, which is good. We all have our little pockets of dates set. So we're not actually drawing audiences away from each other.
No,
but it's cost of living crisis. It's a finite amount of money that the niche festivals can call upon.
Yeah, that's right.
So
right.
what's got you excited? Well, I know what's got you excited about your program.
Okay, well, let's discuss that one first, shall we? Yeah, look, 4 years of hustling, and I finally landed Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, the 4K restoration that was just recently completed. I've been given the stamp of approval from PJ himself.
Wow.
There's a few other people involved that were really helped to facilitate that as well, which I started trying getting it for its 40th, but that didn't happen. I'd pretty much given up on any kind of hope of getting it, and it came through at the 11th hour.
Listeners, you have no idea how long this man has been talking about getting this film. Most of the year since I've known him, it's been his passion to get. Before he says it, I'll say it. He worked on it. And has a strong affinity to it. So I think there's a bit of karma there for you. For all the drama you had about the features that dropped out and dealing with other festivals, all that sort of stuff, for then this to come around, that kind of evens out your year for you.
Oh, totally. So I am very excited about that. It is the first time that it's screening in Australian cinemas, or in cinemas, in about over 30 years. So it is very exciting to be able to do this.
And it's only had the one screening. It was a private screening in Toronto or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. A private screening. I think Peter recorded a little video intro, I should say, for the film. So we've been given, a preview of this 4K restoration. I have no idea what is in store for the film post Dark Knight. I have no idea what Peter Jackson is intending to do with the film, whether it'll have its own theatrical, whether it'll just go straight to Blu-ray. I think there's probably a bidding war going on that one.
See, that relationship was so important for you. Your relationship with, I mean, not directly with Peter, but your past affiliation with him and your ability to be able to talk to his people. Because if that had gone to, one of the many fine distributors around the world who handle these sort of restorations and resurrections, then bang, it would have gone underneath their release.
Exactly.
We're faced with that.
I'm not trying to, I think the saying, look a gift horse in the mouth, but I certainly think that, having worked on the film, having known Peter Jackson personally, even though I didn't directly deal with him on a one-to-one in this acquisition, I certainly think had it been anyone else, I don't think they would have probably got it. But,
what day and date? When's time and date?
So Saturday night at the movies, Saturday, October 11th. It's the 9:30 session at Ritz. I'm hoping for we might have a well-known figure in Australian media from Melbourne coming up, who played one of the featured zombies in the movie. So I might get him up on stage to have a chat with me before the session.
All right, my turn. My retro film this year is my closing night film, and I was sort of, it was a bit of toing and froing because I love my retro sessions, and we were looking at Life Force, the Toby Hooper film at one point. We were looking at Oh God, we were looking at Altered States, the William Hurt film at one point. We finally settled on as a bit of a nod to the late great Val Kilmer. The Island of Dr. Moreau, the 1996, I should say, adaptation of H.G. Wells' story, one of the most infamous shoots of all time, one of the most eccentric films you will see. It's Brando going totally nuts, just having
Full
not taking
Brando.
direction, going full late career Brando. You got Val Kilmer sort of slunking around being the sexiest Val Kilmer you've ever seen. You've got David Thewlis in there. And I think I say in the program notes, giving one of the great "what the hell's going on" performances of in anyone's life, and this incredible practical effects makeup that is in there, which was, one of the guys working on it was Nick Nicolo, who now runs MEG here in Sydney, Makeup Effects Group, and hopefully he'll turn up for the screening. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. We've run a new DCP off a remastered Blu-ray from a couple of years back, and I'm looking forward to. I don't think I've ever seen it on the big screen. I've watched it a few times on VHS, but
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I saw it when it came out. I probably did, just because of the nature of the film being science fiction horror. But I don't have a strong memory of it.
no.
Of course, there's the fantastic doco Lost Souls.
I know, God, that would have been great to screen, and you wonder if you went to Richard Stanley and said, would you get up in front of it and say something, whether you're just sort of poking the bear there. what would unfold? We haven't got Richard Stanley, but
no, he's still intending. Well, based on an interview conversation I had with him a while back, he was talking about how one day he's going to make his version.
Yeah.
He wants to come back to it because he's written this. He says a very adult version of the adaptation, but whether he does,
Sunday night, October 5 from 6 p.m. That'll sort of lead off our awards. That'll come after some awards that we'll be handing out.
I just thought of a film that I wondered whether you'd looked into screening. 1975. Oh my God, I'm now going to complete blank on the name. But it's the oh, sorry, I've gone a complete blank.
No edits. This all stays in. You're looking stupid. What is it?
The dog film with
the dog film.
Oh,
The Pack.
No,
A Boy and His Dog with Don Johnson. Yes,
thank you.
We did look at screening that. They did a remaster of that a couple of years ago, and it's had a bit of a festival life over the years.
Yeah.
The great thing about Dr. Moreau is, and this happened quite by chance, is that it's not on any of the streaming platforms. Try to do there's nothing more frustrating than setting your retro film, and then, because we were going to do Waterworld as well, and then maybe a month and a half ago, suddenly it drops on all the the stands and the binge.
I mean, that's sort of my kind of take as well, is that when I am looking at potential retro screenings, it's like, okay, so how easily accessible is this film currently? And what's the likelihood that people are going to look at the program and go, well, I just saw that on Stan,
I can see that on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's on Prime Video. Anyway.
What's another good one for you?
Well, look, I've got what I'm calling the Serbian double whammy on Saturday night.
So we've look up that in the Urban Dictionary, kids. It's not for you.
So we've got Brain Dead, of course, at 9:30. But prior to Brain Dead on the Saturday night, we've got a 5 o'clock session and we've got a 9:15 session. The 5 o'clock session is a documentary by Stephen Biro from Unearthed Films, and it's called A Serbian Documentary. And it is a documentary looking at behind the scenes making of and the legacy of one of the most controversial films of the last 50 years, a Serbian film, which and it is a fascinating look at it. He was granted complete access to the cast and crew to do new interviews, and he was given hours of footage of the filming of the film and behind, and how they achieved a lot of it, because it's got some of the most extraordinary practical effects
Oh
and
my
it's got a
God.
very dark kind of a dark thematic quality, socio-political. It is
We were
fascinating.
chums. We were chums, weren't we? We were sort of just starting to hang out
We
together
were.
when
Suf Suf showed it. Well, yeah,
oh, they did, didn't they? They stuff showed it. Yeah, that's right.
they showed it, and then it got banned.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. And is
Um,
that where you saw it at
well,
Suff?
you know what? The funny thing is, I don't know if I did. For whatever reason, it's possible I was working that night on one of my other jobs.
Yeah.
I think when I saw it, I saw a look. It's possible I saw a bootleg, or I
Yeah, I
saw
think mine was an uncut DVD,
bootleg.
like it was, yeah,
Me, me,
bootleg of
me
it.
too. Me too. We might have
Yeah,
even got it from the same source. Who
probably.
knows?
Yeah.
But look, I'm very excited to screen this because I think it provides a reassessment of a film that I think obviously garners a lot of outrage, but in the 15 years since it came out, a Serbian film,
Yeah.
it's a really interesting look at a very difficult, but also I think a film with a lot of artistic merit.
Sure.
So we've got that at 5. Following that, we've got the debut feature from the co-writer of a Serbian film,
Oh,
Alexander Radovijovic. I think it's kind of
nice
maybe
try.
how you, yeah. And it's called Karma Donna. And it's not as extreme as a Serbian film, but it's still pretty out there. The director describes it as a profane thriller. It works like a kind of savage satire, follows a very pregnant woman who hears the voice of a deity that comes through and blackmails her into going into the underground, the criminal underground, um, armed with a assault rifle to pick off a whole bunch of nasties. And
So you one of the things I know about Bryn Tilly is that most of the horror films he watches, his number one critic of those films is not gory enough, not enough gore. Are you counter sort of reacting against all those recent PG horror films and programming a lot of films that are very bloody?
Yeah, look, I suppose at the end of the day, it's a case of like a film watching a film and feeling like they were too tame, that the film kind of warranted a more brutal approach. When I say, like, why wasn't it gory enough? I suppose, yeah, it's a case of sort of why didn't the filmmaker go that extra distance? Because we haven't had something like that with that kind of film before. Um, let me be more exact in the sense when I'm talking about gore as well. I like special effects. I like practical effects, but I like them to be convincing as
Mhm.
well, done well. So the director knows how to shoot them. The team on board are doing a great job as well. And I mean, I think certainly going back to a Serbian film, I think there was great use of practical effects in there.
Sure.
Madonna certainly uses some to a degree as well.
Mhm.
Obviously, Brain Dead is a brilliant example of practical effects, all done. It's all practical effects or it's optical effects done in camera. Peter
Yep.
Jackson's use of miniatures and all that. You know, um, yeah. So it's so in that respect, I'm always championing practical effects.
It's interesting because we're both trying to create a very specific persona for our film festivals, trying to let people know that this is what you can comfortably expect when you come and see a Dark Nights film or a Sydney
Mhm.
Science Fiction Film Festival film. You have that uh, dark sensibility, the very very Euro themed, almost very Giallo, very extreme horror kind of view of what horror is. From my perspective, I have uh, tried to when you say science fiction to a lot of people, it's ray guns and spaceships, and I'm always
Mhm.
fighting against sci-fi, but I hate Star Wars, or
Yeah.
sci-fi. I've never seen a Star Trek, and I'm like, yeah, we don't play those sort of movies. You can go and see those. You can go and see those at the multiplex all around Sydney any
Mhm.
weekend of the week. We're saying, and you reminded me the other day when we did an interview together that it's about speculative cinema. It's about cinema that tells a story, but uses fantasy or science fiction
Ideas.
ideas. Yeah,
Yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get that across. And
Yeah.
that's what And sometimes I've thought, should I call it the Sydney Speculative Cinema Film Festival? And that doesn't mean anything to anybody, so no, even less people would come along. So,
Well, look, I mean, this is why, yeah, I came up with the name Dark Nights is because I wanted to highlight dark genre. So in the sense
dark
that, yes,
genre. That's the word I was trying to think of.
yeah,
The
yeah.
phrase
I
that
mean,
you
so,
use.
because I, obviously I love pure horror,
Mm.
but I love also those kind of horror adjacent, I guess, dark genres of psychological thriller, darker science fiction or dark fantasy or dystopian kind of stuff as well. And this is where we kind of cross over a little bit as well, neo noir. And I found in the programming I did for this year's festival, even more so than last year, that much of my program is made up of films that aren't full blown purist horror, for want of a better description, and are a lot more kind of horror adjacent. They're films that are not conventional horrors, but they definitely have horror or nightmare elements. And I love that. I love being able to kind of put that out, so that I'm sort of trying to kind of reach out to people and saying, look, there's lots of fantastic filmmaking going on within and around the so-called horror genre, that maybe you'd like, even though maybe you don't like those kind of full-blown horror films, but you'll get something out of one of these other ones that we're screening.
The next film I want to talk about is a film called The Eagle Obsession. It's our 10:30 on Saturday morning. It's one of the documentaries I mentioned before. It's made by a guy called Jeffrey Morris, who's a hardcore science fiction person. His whole life has been around sort of NASA jet propulsion labs, and his father was an aerospace engineer, and he's this incredibly intelligent man who was obsessed with the very positivity that the old TV show Space 1999 brought to the table. And he got in touch with Nick Tate, who was one of the actors from Space 1999, and sort of explored his own personal obsession, Jeffrey's personal obsession for the Eagle spacecraft, which is an instantly recognizable bit of science fiction production design and design work, but also how fans have reacted to the show and how important it is for fans to stay very close to their source of the original sort of sense of wonder, I guess you should say, is about these sort of shows and these sort of movies. And that's an important thing for both you and I. I think you and I are both very similar in that, we often refer back to the films of our teens and our 20s as being deeply influential and driving what we do now. It's sort of this drug that we want to, we seek out things that wow us and are original to us and make us, believe again in the power of cinema. That's why we do what we do. If you had a film in the mix, a short or a feature that probably does that, does anything come immediately to mind?
Sorry, just to clarify, what do you mean? You mean to
that instantly gave you that rush, that sense of thrill, that sense of wonder when you went, oh yeah, okay, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to program that at any cost.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Well,
question without notice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about any one film. There's certainly elements that come out of individual films.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I mean, for example, A Desert, with the neo-noir film that's screening on Friday night, 9:15. I was reminded watching it of some other filmmakers that I really loved growing up, David Lynch, Antonioni. And so I could see that there was evident in the filmmaking that those influences were part of what the filmmaker had been influenced by. And certainly they were appealing to me. And I was like, oh, that's something that, that I want to now share to my audience. Yeah. So definitely with that.
Is that a US one, did you say? Where's that from?
That's a US. Yep, that's a US. And it's it's not it's not very well known, but It's
I had a couple of shorts. I had a short from a young Aussie guy living in LA. It's called Dream Machine, which is screening as part of our international short showcase, and it's a really polished sort of cinematic work about an old school mechanic who's going out of business because everyone's got flying cars now, which was a very cool idea. And I'm running on our opening night ahead of the documentary Starman. I'm running an Indian short film called Blues, and it is such a beautiful piece of animation. It's about a young girl who's attached to Mother Earth and loves the land and the animals, and she's seeing it all disintegrate in front of her. And it's some of the most stunning animation I've seen in a long time. So I knew that was going to open my festival because it also speaks to, we try to be a little bit more progressive and we try to be a little bit more inclusive and diverse in what we program and how we
sure.
program it. These are the sort of messages I want to try and get across, how hopeful sci-fi can be.
Yep.
And so Blues certainly speaks to that, and that's on our opening night. So yeah, there were a couple of moments in programming this festival where I went, oh wow, that's I get it. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Which is a
Definitely.
good feeling.
Sunday, 5 o'clock, we've got a Danish film called Adorable Humans. It's actually the world premiere, it turns out now, which is very exciting. Uh, this one appealed immediately to me. I've always liked, although I find them very rare to find good ones, anthology films.
Yep.
I find a lot of time people with best intentions try to make an anthology film, and it's a case where, two of the story segments are okay and several aren't, or whatever, or it just doesn't tie together and feels very much like it's a Frankenstein kind of stitched together. Adorable Humans, is four stories adapted from the darker tales of Hans Christian Andersen, who
Nice.
the Danish storyteller, and they approached it in such a way that they used a lot of the key creatives across all four segments. So four separate directors, but only two DOPs, sort of one composer, one editor, and there's not sort of a wraparound trying to tie them together. They just one story, then the next one, the next one, the next one. And there's such a lovely cohesion to it. And there's such I guess, almost like a formal elegance to the way it was filmed. I was watching it and I was reminded of the brilliant Decalogue series, the Polish Decalogue series of the 90s, and how superbly made that was, in that it was the series of stories that every now and again crossed over. And you felt this cohesion that they were all taking place within the same almost neighborhood. Nice. And the same with this Adorable Humans. There's a real I say cohesion again, in the way that they've worked very tightly together, the filmmakers, with each of their segments, even though they're individually directed. And it's one of the best anthologies I've ever seen.
That sounds great. When is that on? What time and day?
That's Sunday. It's our second to last screening, the 5:15, I think, or 5 o'clock. I think, yeah, 5:15, I think.
We'll wrap this up soon. Thank you everyone for listening with us right through to this part of the chat. I want to finally talk about the stuff on the side we do, the sundry stuff we do on after my 1 o'clock Australian Shorts showcase. I've got a panel with a whole bunch of young Australian directors, most of them from that session, some of them from other sessions. And we'll be sitting down talking about their experience in putting their films together. And some of them are sort of high-end, high-budgeted. Other ones are sort of very low-budget student film production. So we're going to get a full spectrum of opinions on that. And that's always been very important to me, to connect with and create a community to help spread messages and tell stories of film production as well. And I know you've got chats with filmmakers, and you've got your bazaar as well, which is a big hit. Tell us something about that.
Yeah. Two important festival events, I guess you could say. Both of them free. That happen. One on the Saturday is as we call the Dark Nights Movie Boutique up in the mezzanine lounge of the Ritz. We have a bunch of stall holders selling and championing physical media, DVDs, Blu-rays, posters, magazines, all of horror, related titles, and they're all collectibles. You'll
What's
find
the
box.
cut like for you? What's the scratch like? You getting a bit of kickback for that? Come
Look,
on. No one from the tax department's listening. Don't worry.
Well, look, I'm actually going to be. I've got a bunch of VHS that I've had in my garage for a very long time that I've held on to because I just thought, look, they might be worth something, but I don't really know how on earth to kind of sell them. And I'm choosing to this year's movie boutique. One of the stall holders is going to try and sell them for me.
Nice.
So I've got original Dario Argento's Inferno, original VHS release of that. I've got
wow.
Abel Ferrara's Angel of Vengeance / Ms. 45.
Yeah.
And I've got a few others in there.
These
So
will go. Are they in good nick?
they're in good nick,
Yeah.
so, I've just got to price them right.
Nice.
So there's that, the movie boutique. It's great to hang out between sessions. There's, because there's all sorts there, and the people running the stalls are great to chat to.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon, we've got, filmmakers discussion. I've got 4 local filmmakers who've all made features talking about the rewards and hurdles in making micro budget or low budget features. And we've got Josh Reed.
Well, shout out to Josh. He did all the work behind me. This is all his magic.
And Mike Yard, although it's not behind me this time, but he did Mike Yard as well.
He did. He's quite talented.
He did. So we've got him talking about his experiences making Primal and We're Not Here to F Spiders. We've got Hannah Barlow, who's the co-director of Sissy. We've got Jennifer Van Gessel, who's the director of The Water Horse and an upcoming one.
The Gessel, one of my favorite.
Find My Bones. And we've got young Jack Dignan, who's made a couple of features after she died in Puzzle Box, and I think he's due to start shooting his next feature. So we're going to have a very casual chat there. It's going to be moderated.
Important. I think that gives festivals like ours hopefully longevity, certainly credibility. It helps us create pathways for young filmmakers, outlets for movies and shorts that may not ever have seen a big screen showing otherwise. One of the hardest parts of this job is having to say no to upwards of 200 films that I received through Film Freeway this year. There was some beautiful stuff in there, but we just couldn't get it in. But to have this on the ground, panels and talks and creating a community. I do want to give a quick shout out to my Meet the Filmmakers interviews that are on our Facebook page. I've been sending the same 6 questions out to filmmakers for the duration of this festival, and they've been sending back some incredible answers. And I've often thought, should I publish this in a book? Because some of the feedback you get is really personal and really profound as to what inspires them to make movies. And that's that's sort of the lifeblood of why I want to keep doing this festival. When everything else gets harder and harder, to still have that connection with the filmmakers and their work is such an important thing.
That's right. Actually, yes, I just wanted to give a shout out to my Aussie Shorts Showcase, which is a great chance to showcase local, emerging, and established filmmakers. A chance, we've got 9 short films. We've got a short film by a 15-year-old this year, which is amazing. Which I thought last year.
So, what technology did they use?
They shot it on an iPhone. They shot it on an
iPhone. Not in up like Instagram, up and down, or across.
No, landscape.
Scope. Oh wow.
Yeah. So like last year had a 17-year-old. That was the youngest. Now a 15-year-old. Well, I think she might be 16 now. But very excited to meet her. And of course the other 8 filmmakers. I think we've got pretty much most of them are going to be attending, which is great. Yeah. And so it's really great. I mean, I think, and I'm sure you'll agree here as well. Certainly with the shorts, when you're programming shorts, part of the decision-making process is thinking about a talented filmmaker, and you can see in their work that this is the kind of talented filmmaker that would go on to make a great feature, and you want to kind of be helping their journey in providing them with the opportunity to screen in front of an audience on a cinema screen, and hopefully one day they will make a feature, and it could be the next.
All right, I think we're pretty much done here. The next what were you going to say? Who would you say if you wanted someone to be the next thing?
I was going to say,
let me guess. You were going to say I know you're a big James Ivory fan. You've got that photo. You've got that poster of A Room with a View in your house.
Yeah, yeah. I thought no, Howard's End.
Howard's. Oh, you're a big Howard's End fan. Yes, I know you. That's true. All right. This is nonsense. Let's get out of here. Give us your dates, and then I'm going to end on my dates.
Dark Nights Film Fest, Thursday, October the 9th to Sunday the 12th. You can get tickets either via the darknightsfilmfest.com website. We've got a lovely little digital flip book program. Links take you through to the Ritz Cinema. You can book through the Ritz Cinema website as well, or you could turn up in person at the Ritz and get them at the candy bar.
The Sydney Science Fiction Film Festival unfolds October 3. Spend a week at the International Astronautical Congress, and then to round the week off, come on over to Event Cinemas John Street, where we'll be opening on the 3rd through to the 5th. Sydney Science Fiction Film Festival.com.au. Our landing page is the program page, so you can see it all with just by typing that in, and tickets through all the usual channels at Event Cinemas or via links on that website. And all our socials are starting to get revved up too. Mate, I was going to say I'm never bored talking to you. That's not entirely true, but it's still it's still a joy to sit down and have a chat with you. And I'm out of the country. As soon as my festival's over, I'm on a plane. And
yeah, look, I'm not very impressed with that. I'm not very impressed. You're not going to be around for mine,
I wish I would be, because now I know you're dragging your old VHS tapes out of the garage.
Oh.
I would have bought some of those, and B, I could have come down and offloaded 3 boxes of laser discs I've got here that I can't do anything with.
Next year. I'll photograph my small collection for you, just so you can sort of go, oh my God, you had that?
I know, that would be so good. Well, I won't do that. I will say, I can't believe I had that and threw it out, and now look at what Bryn's charging for it.
Yes, there we go. You see,
exactly.
So it's yeah. All right. Well, it was a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
And yeah, we'll see you at the Symphony of Horror.
Bye, mate. See ya.
Bye-bye.